Ladies and gentlemen, stop waiting on somebody to clap for you. Stop waiting on somebody to see your worth. You've been waiting on folks to believe in you when, truth be told, you ain't even believed in yourself yet. Stop waiting for validation. Believe in yourself first. One of the biggest traps we fall into is waiting on someone else to see something in us before we see it in ourselves. We walk around hoping someone will finally recognize our talent, our effort, our potential, like we're just sitting on a shelf waiting to be picked. Let me ask you something. Why are you waiting on somebody to co-sign your dream like it's a loan? That dream is yours. That gift is yours. That passion burning inside of you, nobody else was meant to carry it. And it sure wasn't meant to be on pause until someone applauded it. See, a lot of folks are living small not because they lack potential, but because they're addicted to validation. They won't make a move unless someone tells them, yes, you can. They won't start that business unless a friend says it's a good idea. They won't post that idea, write that book, record that video, or even just speak up in a meeting unless they get a nod, a clap, a little green light from somebody else. And here's the problem with that. People are unreliable. Their moods change. Their opinions shift. Sometimes their support comes with strings attached. And worse, sometimes they don't want to see you win because it reminds them they're not moving. If you spend your life waiting for people to approve you, you're going to die still waiting. Believing in yourself isn't about being arrogant. It's not about ignoring wise counsel or pretending you don't need help. Believing in yourself is about knowing who you are even when nobody else gets it. It's waking up in the morning and saying, I know what I'm capable of, even if you don't see it yet. It's doing the work not because someone is watching, but because you know what's inside of you is too valuable to waste. That's confidence rooted in purpose, not ego. Look around at the people you admire, the leaders, the creators, the trailblazers. Every one of them had a season where nobody saw their vision but them. Before the applause came the silence. Before the recognition came the rejection. But the reason they're standing on stages now is because they kept going in the dark. They weren't waiting for someone to tell them they were worthy. They decided they were. You have to make that same decision. You have to stop outsourcing your worth to people who don't even know how to value themselves. One minute they love you, the next minute they scroll past you. One day they're cheering, the next they're quiet. You can't let that move you. Your belief has to be rooted deeper than likes, followers, approval, or praise. It's got to be planted in purpose, watered with discipline, and protected from outside opinions. Do you know how many dreams have died because somebody heard that'll never work? How many ideas were buried because someone laughed at them? If you let other people's limited vision determine your path, you'll end up living a life that wasn't even yours to begin with. And here's the truth. A lot of people will never clap for you, not because you're not great, but because they don't have the capacity to. It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own insecurity. So why keep handing your self-worth over to people who can't handle it? You've got to learn to clap for yourself. You've got to be the one who says that was good work, even if nobody else notices. You've got to be your own motivation on the days when support is silent. Because at the end of the day, your dream, your purpose, your calling is your responsibility. Nobody else can carry it, nobody else should carry it, and nobody else needs to understand it. Validation feels good, but belief is better. Validation can fade, but belief keeps going. It wakes you up early, it pushes you when you're tired. It helps you stand tall in rooms where you used to shrink. When you finally believe in yourself truly, deeply, unshakably, you stop performing and start producing. You stop chasing acceptance and start creating impact. Your biggest battle is convincing the person in the mirror. Every goal you set, every dream you write down, every move you want to make, it all starts and ends with one thing, the conversation you're having with yourself. That's the real battlefield, not the competition, not the people doubting you, not the obstacles in your way. It's that voice in your head, the one that knows all your fears, all your failures, all your insecurities, the one that whispers, "Are you sure you can do this?" That voice is the gatekeeper. And until you deal with it, you'll keep finding ways to hold yourself back. People talk about haters all the time like they're the main problem, but the real hater might be living in your own head. You know how many opportunities you passed on not because you weren't qualified, but because you didn't think you were? You know how many times you had the right idea, the right plan, the right timing, and you still didn't act? Just because something inside told you that you weren't enough yet? That's the inner war we don't talk about enough. We spend so much time trying to impress others when the truth is we haven't even impressed ourselves yet. Confidence doesn't come from praise, it comes from proof. You have to show yourself that you can do it, not once, but consistently. That's why small wins matter. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you show up when it's hard, every time you do something you were scared to do, you're building evidence. You're stacking up proof that says, hey, maybe I am the kind of person who can handle this. And over time, that proof quiets the doubt. It doesn't mean the voice disappears. It just means it loses its power. Most people think the solution is to wait until they feel confident, but confidence doesn't show up first. Courage does. You've got to move scared. You've got to act while your hands are still shaking. That's what builds strength. You don't become a believer in yourself by sitting still and hoping one day it just clicks. You become a believer by doing the thing anyway, by facing the fear, walking through the discomfort, and choosing not to shrink when everything in you wants to retreat. And yes, it's hard because the person in the mirror knows your past. They know what you've messed up. They know what you've avoided. They remember the times you quit early, the times you stayed quiet, the times you settled. That's why it's not easy to convince them. You can't lie to the mirror. You can't fake confidence to yourself. So the only way to shift that perspective is to start showing up different. You have to start stacking new evidence, new patterns, new behavior. You have to give that inner version of you something new to believe in. And don't expect it to happen overnight. This isn't a quick fix. It's a process. Some days you'll feel strong. Some days you'll feel like a fraud. Some days you'll feel like you're making progress. And other days you'll wonder if you've moved at all. That's normal. Growth doesn't always feel like growth. Sometimes it just feels like surviving another day without giving up on yourself. But through it all, the goal remains the same, to change the way you see yourself. Because how you see yourself determines how you move. If you see yourself as someone who always falls short, you'll subconsciously create situations that prove that story right. But if you start to see yourself as someone who's capable, disciplined, focused, resilient, then you'll start creating moments that align with that identity. It's not magic, it's repetition. You've got to talk to yourself better. Stop speaking defeat before you even begin. Stop calling yourself names that were never yours to begin with. Start catching the way you speak about yourself when nobody's listening. Start challenging the thoughts that tell you you're not ready, not smart enough, not talented enough, because the longer you believe those lies, the more real they become. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be consistent. You don't need to win every day, you just need to keep showing up. Because every time you do, you're not just building a skill or chasing a goal, you're rewriting your identity. You're proving to the person in the mirror that change is possible, that growth is happening, that belief is being built one action at a time. Proving it to yourself changes how you move and speak. When you finally decide to prove it to yourself, something starts to shift inside you. It's subtle at first. You might not notice it right away, but over time, your entire energy begins to change. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with more clarity. You show up with purpose instead of pressure. That's the power of internal proof. It transforms not just what you do, but how you carry yourself while doing it. See, when you haven't proven anything to yourself yet, you operate with hesitation. You tiptoe. You ask for permission. You play small, not because you don't want more, but because you're still waiting for some external stamp of approval. You feel like an imposter in your own potential. You second guess your voice, your ideas, your decisions. You constantly look around to measure yourself against everyone else because deep down, you still don't know where you stand with yourself. But once you've started proving things to yourself, even little things, you build a different kind of confidence. Not the kind that screams or tries to impress people, but the kind that's quiet, rooted, grounded. You don't need to be the loudest in the room because you've already seen what you can do in silence. You've already shown up when no one was clapping. You've already delivered when no one was watching. That does something to your soul. It rewires how you think and how you speak because now you're not performing, you're just being. The way you talk about your goals changes too. You're no longer saying, I hope or I'll try. You start saying, I'm working on or I'm doing. You speak from a place of ownership, not wishful thinking. You stop romanticizing the idea of the dream and start respecting the process of it. You don't need to convince anyone else because the conviction in your voice is real. That's the difference between talking about something you wish would happen and speaking from the experience of already building it. And it doesn't mean you have everything figured out. You can be in the middle of the process, still learning, still falling down sometimes. But even in that space, your posture changes. You're no longer dragging yourself forward. You're moving with intention because you've tasted what it feels like to honor your own word. That gives you power. That gives you pride, not the ego kind. When you've proven something to yourself, your standards rise. You don't tolerate the same excuses you used to. You don't entertain the same doubt. You don't seek out the same validation. You hold yourself to a higher level, not because you're trying to impress someone, but because you've started to believe in the version of you that shows up, does the work, and keeps going. And that version of you, that version isn't looking around for confirmation anymore. That version doesn't wait for perfect timing or ideal conditions. That version is already in motion. You start setting boundaries differently too. You stop explaining your moves to people who don't understand your mission. You stop over-explaining your worth to people who never really valued it. You protect your energy, your focus, your vision, because now you know what it took just to get here. You're not willing to go backwards just to make someone else comfortable. And the way you respond to failure changes. Before, when you failed, it felt like a confirmation of your worst fear, that maybe you weren't good enough. But now when you fail, you see it as a part of the process. You don't take it personally, you take it constructively. You learn, you adapt, you stay in motion, because now you've got proof that you can handle hard things. You've got evidence that you can bounce back. That kind of confidence doesn't just come from winning, it comes from surviving, from staying consistent, from proving to yourself that you don't quit when it gets hard. You speak life over your situation more. You don't walk around repeating defeat. You don't speak negativity over your goals. You've been through enough to know that your words matter. And now that you believe in what you're building, you choose your language with intention. You affirm yourself. You talk like someone who knows where they're going. You think, speak, and act in alignment because proving it to yourself is giving you a blueprint to follow, a fire to carry, and a voice that doesn't need to shout to be heard. Consistency over applause. Show up even when no one's watching. There's something powerful about doing the work when there's no crowd, no cheers, no spotlight. That's where real growth lives. Not in the moments where everybody sees you, but in the moments when nobody does. In the early mornings, the late nights, the quiet sacrifices, the decisions nobody applauds, but that matter more than they'll ever know. That's where greatness is built. Because anyone can show up when the energy's high and the room is full, but who are you when it's just you and the grind? Most people quit not because they aren't talented or capable, but because they can't stay consistent without an audience. They want results overnight. They want validation immediately. And the minute they don't get it, they start questioning whether it's even worth it. But the truth is, the ones who win are the ones who master the boring. They fall in love with the routine. They understand that repetition builds mastery, not hype. They're not addicted to the finish line. They're committed to the steps. It's easy to get caught up in chasing applause. That little dopamine hit from recognition can feel good, but if that's your fuel, you'll always run out. Applause fades, trends die, people move on. If your drive is based on how loud people clap, you'll crash the minute they go quiet. That's why consistency matters more, because when it's rooted in purpose, not praise, it becomes unstoppable. You're not moved by the noise, you're moved by your mission. Showing up consistently teaches you more than any compliment ever could. It shows you what you're made of. It reveals your habits, your mindset, your discipline. It exposes your excuses, but it also introduces you to your potential. When you keep going, even when it feels like nothing's changing, that's where transformation happens, because something is changing you. Your endurance is stretching. Your patience is growing. Your commitment is solidifying. And that kind of consistency, that builds legacy. Everybody wants the big moment, the breakthrough, the viral success, the standing ovation, but very few are willing to do what it takes in the shadows, the quiet work, the disciplined grind, the relentless showing up. That's the stuff no one posts about. That's the part that doesn't make it to the highlight reel, but it's also the part that determines whether your success is temporary or timeless. Consistency is the proof of belief. You don't keep showing up for something you don't believe in. So every time you get up and go again, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when you feel unseen, that's a declaration of faith in your vision. The world has a short attention span. 1 minute they love you, the next they scroll past you. That's why you can't let the world set the tempo for your grind. Your work ethic has to be stronger than their applause. Your vision has to outlast their opinions. And your consistency has to be rooted in something bigger than approval. When you make that shift, when you decide that you'll keep going regardless of who's watching, you become dangerous. Because now you're not just working for a moment, you're working for a lifetime. Every day you show up adds up, even if it doesn't look like much right now, even if it's not flashy. Brick by brick, you're building something solid. And one day, people will look at what you've built and call it overnight success, but you'll know better. You'll know the early mornings, the failures, the silent wins, the late night doubts, and the times you pushed through anyway. You'll know that it wasn't magic, it was consistency. When you train yourself to show up without needing attention, you develop a level of discipline that can't be shaken. You're not performing anymore, you're practicing, you're improving, you're becoming. That's when the work gets sacred. It becomes a part of who you are, not just what you do. You're no longer just chasing a goal. You're living in alignment with your purpose. And that kind of life is not built on applause. It's built on what you do when the applause is gone. Your vision is yours. Not everyone will understand it. When a vision is placed on your heart, it's not sent out as a group text. It doesn't come with a public announcement or a roundtable discussion. It comes to you. That means it's your responsibility to carry it, nurture it, and protect it, even when no one else gets it, especially when no one else gets it. And that's where most people get stuck. They get so caught up in trying to explain their vision to people who were never meant to see it that they lose momentum before they ever get started. You have to realize that not everyone is supposed to understand what you're building. Not everyone is meant to see the picture clearly. It wasn't sent to them. It wasn't downloaded into their spirit. That dream, that idea, that plan, it lives in you for a reason. And yes, you may try to describe it, break it down, paint the picture as best you can, but still, some folks just won't see it. They'll look at you sideways. They'll question your timing. They'll tell you to be more realistic. And if you're not careful, you'll start shrinking your vision to fit into their limited view. That's why protecting your vision is so important. Not everyone deserves access to your dream in its early stages. Some people can only receive it once it's proven, once it's profitable, once it's packaged and polished. But while it's still fragile, still growing, still forming, you have to be selective about who you share it with. Because some people don't even mean harm. They just don't have the capacity to believe on that level. They've been taught to play it safe. They've been conditioned to stay small. So your vision, as bold and wild as it may be, feels threatening, not because it's wrong, but because it challenges everything they've settled for. You're not crazy for dreaming big. You're not unrealistic for wanting more. You're not irresponsible for stepping out on faith when the numbers don't line up yet. What you are is chosen, called, positioned. And that kind of calling isn't always going to come with a cheerleading section. Sometimes it comes with silence. Sometimes it comes with isolation. Sometimes it comes with people you love looking at you like you've lost your mind. And in those moments, you have to stand firm in what you know you were given. You have to stop seeking agreement before you act. Too many people wait for confirmation from others before they take the first step. But the truth is, some of your confirmation is in the doing. You won't see how it all comes together until you start walking. The clarity is in the movement. The understanding grows with the action, and eventually the same people who doubted you may be the ones asking how you did it. But that can't be your motivation. Your motivation has to be internal, fueled by the belief that your vision is valid even if no one else claps for it yet. Every breakthrough started as someone's misunderstood vision. Every invention, every movement, every business, every shift in culture, it all began with someone seeing something no one else saw and having the courage to pursue it anyway. You've got that same capacity inside you, but it's going to require boldness. It's going to require patience. It's going to require tuning out the noise and tuning into your inner voice, because as long as you're waiting for consensus, you'll stay stuck in the comfort zone of other people's expectation. You have to be okay being misunderstood. You have to be okay being underestimated. You have to be okay walking a path that doesn't make sense to people who've never left the map, because this isn't their journey. It's yours. And it's not supposed to look like theirs. It's not supposed to follow a script. It's supposed to stretch you, challenge you, and elevate you in ways that make average minds uncomfortable. That's what vision does. It disrupts. It creates new lanes. It invites resistance. And that resistance isn't a sign to stop. It's a sign you're moving into new territory. So don't water down your dream to make it digestible for others. Don't dim your light to fit in with people who are afraid of their own shine. Don't postpone your purpose while waiting for a green light from people still stuck at the start line. This vision was given to you because you have the strength, the creativity, the grit, and the faith to bring it to life, even if no one else can see it yet. Your future requires evidence, not just intentions. Everybody says they want success. Everybody claims they're ready for change. But the future you're dreaming about doesn't respond to words, it responds to proof. It wants to see receipts. You can talk about your goals all day long, post about them, journal them, make vision boards, and tell the world what's coming. But at some point, your future's going to say, show me. And when that moment comes, it's not going to ask about your intentions. It's going to check your consistency, your discipline, your sacrifice, and your work. Intentions are easy. They feel good. They sound good, but they don't move the needle. They don't pay off debt, build businesses, write books, or build legacy. Action does that. Commitment does that. The evidence you leave behind in your routines, in your habits, in your choices. That's what shapes the future you're talking about. Without that evidence, your future is nothing more than a hope, a wish, an idea that never grew legs. A lot of people get trapped in the planning stage. They want everything to be perfect before they start. They wait for the right moment, the right feeling, the right mood. But the future doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It moves with the ones who move. If you're serious about change, then your life should start showing signs of it, not tomorrow, but today. Not just in your words, but in your schedule, in what you prioritize, and how you spend your time when nobody's watching. Think about what your daily life says about where you're headed. If someone followed you around for a week, not hearing your dreams, just watching your actions, what would they conclude? Would they see evidence of a person becoming who they say they want to be? Or would they see someone stuck in cycles, repeating the same routines, hoping for change without making space for it? That gap between what you say and what you do, that's where most people get stuck. That's where good intentions die. The future version of you isn't created by a big leap. It's built one choice at a time, one disciplined day at a time, one uncomfortable decision at a time. It's forged in the moments when quitting looks easier and excuses feel justified. It's shaped when you choose growth over comfort, consistency over emotion, execution over explanation. Because the future doesn't care about why you didn't feel like it. It only responds to what you did anyway. That's why tracking your growth matters. That's why showing yourself small wins matters. You need to start keeping score, not to compare, not to compete, but to confirm, to build a trail of evidence that you can look back on and say, I've come too far to stop now. That kind of momentum is priceless. That kind of proof fuels you on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. You won't always be inspired, but if you've been consistent, your own progress becomes the inspiration. You can't fake evidence. You can't talk your way into a future you haven't worked for. You can't hope your way into becoming the version of you that's disciplined, successful, free, healed, or whole. You have to become that person through action, through repetition, through ownership. The future rewards the ones who stay the course when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's slow. The ones who understand that results take time, but preparation is daily, that faith without works is just noise. People will come and go. Support will rise and fall. Circumstances will shift. But what stays with you is the effort you invest into yourself. That's what builds confidence. That's what builds momentum. That's what builds the kind of future that can't be shaken. You don't need to prove it to anyone else, but you do need to prove it to yourself. Because when life hits, and it will, it's not your intentions that are going to hold you up. It's the discipline you've built. It's the habits you've mastered. It's the mindset you've trained. That's the evidence the future recognizes. So if you want change, stop making declarations and start producing documentation. Let your effort be the proof. Let your sacrifice speak louder than your statements. Let your routine reflect your goals louder than your words do. Because your future is listening not to what you say, but to what you're doing right now,